It's all about the tag Super Tuesday, as various counties are set to discuss the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020. Some will pass, we'll get to know which ones, but all in all, the 12 more counties and they'll reach the minimum threshold to be able to kick this process to the next stage. Now, there have been recent developments still touching on the passing of the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020. One of them being the decision to give MCAs in the country car grants today. Rather faced a legal challenge just yesterday, after a Nairobi resident moved to court. Now, in his filing, the man, one Dr. Magare Gikenyi, said implementation of the grant would be, quote, discriminatory, outright misuse and abuse of discretion, non-independence and reward of political players by the SRC. Now, the suit comes only days after the Control of Budget raised questions over the same. Let's take a look at that report by Ibrahim Karanja.
It all started here in Sagana late January when the president announced that MCAs will be joining other legislators in getting car grants. The announcement coming days before county assemblies embarked on debate on the BBI bill and followed shortly after by an approval from salaries body SRC. And today, the president's promise faced a legal hurdle after a Nairobi resident moved to court to challenge its implementation. In his petition, Dr. Gikenyi says, and I quote, that the earlier move by SRC to reject the approval of healthcare workers' allowances on the basis of inter alia fiscal unsustainability, yet approve the grant further showed discrimination, outright misuse, abuse of discretion and non-independence and reward for political players. The petition, filed under Certificate of Urgency, has the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, the Council of Governors, all the 47 county assemblies and their speakers, as well as all the 47 county assembly service boards listed as respondents. Dr. Gikenyi seeks a stay order against the conversion of MCA's car loans to car grants. The lawsuit comes days after the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, wrote to the SRC raising questions regarding the implementation of the transport facilitation. In the letter, Nyakango cautioned that counties in their budgets only factored in car loans and not grants. She also raised the red flag over challenges in implementing the facility in cases where counties merged car loans with mortgage facilities. These challenges are certainly expected to slow the implementation of the facility or even halt its provision altogether. Ibrahim Karanja, KTN News.
So some of the hurdles that this passing of the BBI seems to have to pass first of all. Remember, this promise coming at a very critical time when President Uhuru Kenyatta was meeting some members of the county assembly. Well, we'll definitely want to delve deeper into this and much more. Already joining us in studio, allow me to regard them. June Juliet Ndegwa is the national chair of the Kenya Young Members of County Assemblies. She's joining us from our city center studios. We're also joined by Josh Mangi, who's the deputy governor of Kisii County. Many thanks for your time. We're also joined by Lucine Jerry, who is the nominated member of County Assembly for Kirinyaga County, joining us via way of Zoom. And still with us, James Gakuya, who's the Embakasi North Member of Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, many thanks for your time. Since this is a story touching on the MCAs, I'd rather begin on that particular note. I'll start with you, Lucine Jerry, joining us via way of Zoom. What's your latest reaction to some of the intrigues we've seen around the MCA's car grants? We've seen the letter from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, also the Controller of Budget coming forth and asking for clarification on a couple of issues that might deter the successful rollout to all the 47 county assemblies. Your quick reaction to this?
Thank you very much. First, I want to say that my name is Lucine Jerry from Nyaga County, and I want to talk about the car grant. I want to tell the people of Kenya that this is not a conversation that just started during the time of BBI. It is a conversation that started way back in 2014. That is when the conversation about the car grant came in. Remember that members of parliament, they are members of national parliament and members of county government parliament. and the members of National Parliament get their grant, that is the 6 million. Unlike the member of County Assembly that we get the mortgage and the car loans. This is not the money that is coming in at the time because of the BBI. It is a conversation that started in 2014, it came in 2016, and now it has come back in 2021. It is only that it has been come at a time that there is a BBI. So people must differentiate that the conversation, the time it is started, and the reasons why it is started, and also the time that it has come in. Remember, it is not the president who came up with the issue of the car grant. It is us who got a platform to remind the president that we also require the car as a grant. Remember, the members of County Assembly are the people who lives on the ground, are the people who walk distances traveling to the rural areas, unlike the members of Parliament who comes maybe when they're disbursing their CDF. So it is not about that MCAs are being bribed. No, right. It is their among
the privileges.
Maybe to also is bringing issues.
Okay. Okay, even as we continue getting your thoughts, Lucy Njeri, allow me to cross over to June Juliet Ndegwa, who's joining us from our City Centre studios. She's the national chair of the Kenya Young Members of County Assemblies. Still touching on this, just bouncing off what Njeri has just mentioned, many have suspected the timing especially, and she's gone further ahead to allude that this is one of the privileges members of County Assembly totally deserve in order to serve the people who elected them. But my question is, even as we poke holes on the timing, it's only serving to benefit the current crop of members of County Assembly. Many have timed this as suspect. What say you?
Thank you very much. I think this is a discussion that we need to understand, that SRC and the county assemblies and the County Assemblies Forum had started discussing way back in 2013. If we look about the timing, it is just that the president requested SRC to speed up the car grant issue. MCAs have always been getting car loans instead of car grant, and if you think about it, there are legislators in the county assemblies and the legislators in the National Assembly who have car grants, and the ones in the county assemblies do not have car grants. Please remember that this money is not for free. It is something that MCAs will have to pay off later. Mm-hmm. So the insinuation that it is a bribe, it is not a correct statement to make. And I believe the MCAs who have a shorter time of paying this car grant, remember they're only in office for 5 years, unless re-elected or nominated back into their county assemblies, they will have to pay this car grant.
Well, we'll definitely talk more about that, but we'll definitely poke questions on that. Allow me to bring on the Deputy Governor of Kisii County, just adding his voice on this particular issue. Many thanks for your time. What say you about this whole debacle? Because we've seen various bodies ask for clarification on how to roll out this particular issue. Control of budget being the latest, SRC among them. But what say you on this?
Chelsea, first and foremost, let me correct what the immediate MCA said, that the MCAs will have to pay back the car grant. That is not correct. A car grant is a grant. You don't pay back a car grant. It shows that she has not understood the debate about this car grant. Car grants are not paid back. Mm-hmm. Now, let me say that there's nothing wrong with MCAs getting a car grant. And let me also concur with the first MCA who said that this debate did not start with the BBI. It started truly in 2014. I'm aware of that. But the truth is that it was granted more of us a freebie when the president met the MCAs, and more of us as an encouragement for the MCAs to pass the BBI. Now, the biggest question, the big question in the elephant in the room is the procedure on how to grant this. Normally, procedure requires that if an assembly whether Parliament or county passes a motion that has a beneficial implication to them, it does not get to be implemented during their time. It has to be implemented during the next group's time. Again, any bill that has a monetary implication that is passed during a financial year will be implemented in the next financial year. Because right now, the budget has already been done. That is why I agree with the control budget when she asks, where will you get the money from to pay to give the grant in this financial year? Now, SRC seem to imply that they can convert the loan into a grant, but the law does not allow that. Granted, in Kenya, hey, if the executive pushes, that loan can be turned into a grant, but that will be legal. Yeah. But again, we have seen very many illegal things happening in Kenya. So I want to concur with the COP that, yes, if you give the MCS a grant, a car grant, but the budget for this year needed to have factored that car grant into its budget. Now, that budget has not factored that car grant, which means that you are going to raid other coffers to get that money. The legal alternative will have been that the assemblies go and pass a supplemental budget to allocate funds for that grant. Okay. Without a supplemental budget, any allocation will be legal. So I want to agree with the COP, and also, you know, the way SRC passed this thing is very suspect. But hey, they deserve a grant, they can get it, but let us follow the law. Let us not use PPI to circumvent things which will later on come to bite us.
Okay, speaking of the law, and still with you, Deputy Governor, I mean, some of the issues that arose from that particular letter from the Controller of Budget as she was seeking clarification was some MCAs might have already accessed this particular fund, the car loan this time round. In other counties, it's been merged with the mortgage. Others are paying on the interest. So how exactly to roll out the conversion from the car loan to the car grant? And I mean, the devil is in the detail. How exactly is this happening? Perhaps you can give us what exactly is happening in Kisii County.
I'll tell you, I'll speak about what's happening in Kisii County. It is true that we rolled the loan, the car loan, together with the mortgage, so MCAs were allowed to access the money. But it came as a loan, and that is what COB is questioning. Okay. If the money came as a loan, how do you convert the loan into a car grant? Now, there is a serious question there. There's a serious legal question there. Remember, under the Financial Management Bill, it's called the Finance Management Act. Okay. An item that is passed by the budget has to be backed by law. So when this budget was being passed, there was no law allowing for the issuance of a car grant to the MCAs. All right. But there was a law allowing for issuance of a car loan to the MCAs. Now, using that law that allowed us to issue car loans to the MCAs accessed money for a car loan. Now, to convert that loan into a grant, remember, a loan is money you pay back. A grant, you don't pay back. Yeah. So to convert that money from being a loan to free money, it's going to be a little bit complicated.
Exactly. It has to be backed by law.
It has to be backed by law.
All right. Let's cross over to Gakuya right now. And I mean, this coming in the backdrop of the latest legal challenge. Nairobi resident actually moved to court saying implementation of the grant would be discriminatory, outright misuse and abuse of discretion, especially bearing in mind health workers' allowances was rejected by SRC on the basis of inter alia fiscal and sustainability. I mean, everyone has a right to seek legal clarification on various matters. What say you about this particular Nairobi resident who's seeking a stay order on the conversion of car loans to car grants?
Rogers, let me say, the petitioner has a very fundamental right, because every other single Kenyan is a taxpayer. And taxpayers' money are the money which we are going to say that this car grant is nobody's money. It is taxpayers' money. And every other taxpayer has a right to question what are the procedures and what are the legal implications of this particular grant, car grant. As it has been explained very clearly by the Deputy Governor here, it is very true that actually the right procedure to follow. It is not a criminal exercise to have an MCA enjoying a car grant, because equally the National Assembly and the Senate also enjoys the same facility.
Yeah.
But the manner in which you distinguish the two is what is very important. And he has explained it very well, that even in National Assembly, you can enjoy the car grant, but you have still option of car loan. The car loan is a loan you take to the period that you agree in commitment, either 3 years or the whole of your tenure in that particular house. It is equivalent to mortgage, that at least you take a mortgage, you repay within a duration of time that you agree and sign against.
All right.
Therefore, at that particular juncture, I would say the petitioner has a right, and then that's why we have judiciary to give what we call a clear explanation on, yes, is it procedural, or is this mechanism legal or not legal?
Even as you give that point, I beg to ask the question, because this is a matter that has been within the foray in quite a while. Briefly, Governor, Deputy Governor, it has been a matter in the foray. Lucy Njeri mentioned it's been there since 2014. Parliament should have passed legislation on this even in 2017. Perhaps still with you, Member of Parliament, why is this, even as we question the timing, why not pass the bill earlier on? Why now? Because you're Member of Parliament, the legislative function of Parliament definitely would have played a key role in the passing of this.
Rogers, I can tell you very clearly that you know the duties given by the Constitution, and which distinguishes the powers of the two houses.
Yes.
And the Senate House is the house to deal with the matters concerning the counties. And therefore, if there is a bill which has been reluctant somewhere,
okay,
it is not by the National Assembly. It has to be on the other side of the Senate, because that's a matter to do with devolution, and it is squarely under the Senate.
Okay.
Yes.
Briefly, Deputy Governor.
I just wanted to clarify that I don't want to be misunderstood.
Yes.
I am not opposing the issues of this car grant. I can support it. The MCAs deserve, like my brother said, and be scared. But what I'm saying is that let us be careful how we administer it. Let us be careful, otherwise we want to raise serious legal questions. Otherwise, somebody will go to court and have this thing nullified.
Okay.
So I am saying that let us be careful how we administer. What is provided for under the current budgets are car loans. Now, how we convert car loans to grants is the question. Let us be careful so that we don't raise audit queries. Let us be careful so that we don't get challenged in court, so that when the MCAs get the car grant, they get it properly, okay, so that they don't come back and be asked to pay back.
Exactly, and it's rolled out to all the...
Rogers,
let's cross over to Lucy Njeri this time round. We definitely need to hear their sentiments on this. Lucy, Kirinyaga is among the counties that will be debating this particular bill. And perhaps as you give us your final thoughts on this car grant issue, talk to us about the process right now. Is there space for dissenting views? What say you about the process of public participation as it has been rolled out in Kirinyaga County?
Okay, thank you very much. I want first of all to take you back to the issues on the guidelines and procedures of the car grant.
Yes.
Remember, every county got a circular on how to give out that car grant. So the SRC, we already have the circulars, we already have the guidelines. So I'm sure we are going to follow law to the latter. For those who want to go to the court, it is their right. And I hope that they are not used by other people so that they can deny us the car grant. We have seen in Parliament that members of Parliament delay our bills, not only the car grant bill, also the ward development bill, with their thinking that we can overturn them during the time of election. That is not the way. So let people not be used to go to court, but I want to clearly say that we have the guidelines from the SRC. back to what the process we have in the County Assembly. Today is a Super Tuesday, and I want to assure the people of Kenya and also of Kirinyaga that this is a bill that we are passing, not for our benefit, but for the benefit of us all and for the future generation. We have been able to go through on what is in the BBI, and we have prepared ourselves. And about the public participation, remember also the public participation can either be through a forum, it can either be through a memo, or it can either be through a written memorandum. In Kirinyaga County, we have already accomplished in either ways about public participation, and today it is our duty to go to and debate the bill and to show the people of Kirinyaga the importance of passing the bill, and indeed we are passing the bill.
Well, but that is a game of wait and see. Even as we anticipate the passing of the bill in Kirinyaga, I beg to ask on the issue of dissenting voices. The party gave its stand, specifically Jubilee Party, which might be synonymous in your county, gave its stand on this particular constitutional amendment bill. So what say you about the MCAs who might have a different opinion? Is there room, especially for them to give dissenting opinion during the debate?
Okay, remember in Kirinyaga, most of the members of parliament come from the Jubilee Party, including the nominated members of the County Assembly. We only have around 5 people who are independent, and they are not independent. They have already joined the train. We are already talking in one voice. So I don't think in Kirinyaga County, but it's democracy, you know, it's democracy. For you to vote according to what you think. But in Kirinyaga County, I want to say that we have the uniformity. We know the reasons why we will pass the BBI, and I hope that we are going to pass unanimously over the same votes.
Let's cross over to Julian Ndegwa. It's interesting what the fellow MCA has just mentioned, because many might seem to allude to the fact that this particular support of the BBI bill should be citizen-driven process. And many might argue the sycophancy of elections and politics in Kenya is taking over. What say you, having passed the bill in Nairobi, what say you about this particular analogy?
First and foremost, I want to just say that the guidelines and the procedures of passing this BBI bill has already gone through public participation, and I'm hoping all counties will be able to do their public participation before they get the bill on the floor of the House. Number 2, Nairobi passed the bill unanimously because they read and understood that they are the representatives of the people. And so when we read the bill, we saw that there's a lot that is coming in to benefit Nairobians and Nairobians at large, and therefore that is why we passed it before the bill is taken to the people. So this is just a matter of procedure. As representatives of the county, you know, you're there to legislate and to represent the people and to do your oversight role. So as representatives of Nairobians, this was something that we looked at, and we saw that it is coming to benefit Nairobians, not only in increase of revenue, but even just taking services down to the people. So when the people get, because we did public participation, I'm sure that if this bill is taken down to the people, it will definitely pass.
Okay, that's proper. Josh Maingi, it would be interesting to note the fact that allocation to counties is a major selling point right here, from 15% to the ceiling of 35% right now. This must have been a major selling point while pushing this agenda in Kisii County. As you give us your take on this, what say you about those who might poke holes into the fact that if 15% is an issue right now in terms of disbursement of funds to the counties, we've seen issues with the timeliness and all that. What about the 35%? What say you about this whole debacle?
I'll tell you, just I agree with you that 5% allocation to counties was a major, major issue. And it really is the main reason why some of us supported this BBI. And that is why, you know, those of us who are accused of being on the other side of the argument. People are asking us, the House of Nation is generally anti-BBI. How come some of us seem to be supporting it? I'll tell you why we support it. Because the 35% allocation is extremely important to counties. Right now, yes, there are those who say the government is unable to disperse 15%. But you see, if the government is broke today, or if those in charge of government today are reluctant to support the counties, it does not mean that the next government will also be reluctant. It does not mean that the government will always be broke. A time is going to come when the government is going to be properly liquid, and they will disperse that 5%. Now, the general practice is that if you put a limit of 15%, conservative governments will stick to the 15%. Even though the law allows them to increase.
To increase, yes.
But then, you know, people, good accountants will give you the minimum that they can give you. They will give you the minimum. So we want the minimum to go to 5%, so that even if you have a very mean government, even if you have a very mean president, you don't have a choice but to give us that 5%. Now, this is why even those on the other side of this divide, some of them say, and that's why we agree with the Deputy President when he says, there are some good things in this BBI. Number one is the 35% allocation revenue. Number two is the creation of leader of opposition. But you see, now these two good things may be marred in the bad things like the creation of ombudsman, the increment of nomination slots to 150. There are a number of bad things there. And that's why we were proposing that the best thing could have been a situation whereby we have a multiple choice approach, so that me, as Maangi, who want to support that 5% and the creation of leader opposition post, I fought for those two. But those ones that I don't want, I fought no.
But that was really, it really got criticism, especially since it might be too cumbersome during the election. Well, what say you about that?
My brother, right now, when we go for elections, we have 6 positions that we fought for. And out of those 6 positions, some candidates, some of them are 10 candidates, some of them are 15, but we still fought. Let us not assume that Kenyans are stupid. Kenyans are not stupid. They could have created an but anyway, that's what on the bridge now. Let me say something about the passage of the BBI and the Super Tuesday.
Briefly, yes.
I do believe that the assemblies would meet the 24 number threshold. I'm not doubt about that. But then, that is not the problem. Getting 24 assemblies to pass the bill is not the problem. The problem is getting the public to pass the referendum. Getting 24 is not a big deal. In any case, the members of the assemblies have been sufficiently persuaded. They have been given car grants. They have been guaranteed a 5% allocation during, WAD Development Fund.
Yes.
So they are sufficiently encouraged.
Okay.
But then, how about the public? Is the public sufficiently persuaded to pass the referendum? So if I were you, I would not worry about this 24 counties threshold. I would worry about the actual referendum. Will it pass?
Okay. Gakuya, let's pick up on that particular point as we anticipate the passing of this particular bill in the minimum 24 counties. The next stage will definitely focus on the 2 houses, National Assembly and the Senate. But as Mangi mentions, it might be the biggest challenge in order to talk to the people and sell this agenda, bearing in mind civic education has been poked holes upon this time round. What say you about the journey to passing this particular referendum?
Rogers, that is where the element is. Because the rest of the process, I am sure that actually it is going to get the threshold. And for the BBI to get 24 number of supporting counties, this is like a walk in the park. And by that of today, they'll just click that number if possible. And therefore, this big Tuesday will be celebrated. But there is a monster in the house, and the monster is Wanjiku. And the reason is one, nobody has educated Wanjiku clearly and explained to her how we are going to implement the baggage, these baggages owned or carried by the BBI.
But public participation has been ongoing.
No, that's okay. And I believe the public participation was a very skewed process. I believe that the MCAs, everybody invited people that he believes that actually are his like mind. And let me tell you, when it comes to the election, it will be the duty for every Kenyan who believes that he has a mandate to vote, who will cast his vote.
Okay.
And that's where the event is. And my take is that I'm a representative. I'm feeling the heat on the ground. And I know what Wanjiko is yearning about. And the big question down there, Rogers, is where are we going to get these monies that we are not having it today, but tomorrow after implementing the BBI, we shall have all these monies. We have the threshold, the red flag in our borrowing, where we have reached to $1 trillion maturity of repaying loans.
Okay.
Yes, and our projected domestic collection are dismal. Because we are talking about between 1.8 trillion to 2 trillion.
But Mangi did mention that, I mean, it's not always gloom, especially with the government. We should anticipate better times ahead, right?
No, that is what we're saying.
Okay.
But my take is, as we move forward, as I'm not an opposer of this particular BBI, Rogers, I'm still a taxpayer. And as a taxpayer, my big question is, where do you think this particular additional cost will be pegged?
Okay.
Who is going to be penalized to top up in the basket? That's a big question.
Okay, but it's definitely a question, and it might definitely fill with people on the ground. Let's cross over to June Julian Degwa right now. I mean, passing of the BBI bill in the counties, as we saw in Nairobi, unanimous decision right there. But now the issue of the referendum itself, as we anticipate the passing in 24 counties today, seems to be critical, especially when there's talk of a hostile ground. We've just had Gakuya here intimate perhaps in Embakasi North he's receiving the heat. Now, the challenge lies ahead, especially to representatives in elective positions to push this particular agenda. What say you about the challenge ahead?
I don't see the challenge ahead because, as I've said, we walked through Nairobi in all the 17 constituencies, and we got representatives of what MP Gakuya is terming as the Wanjiko, and they were all in agreement that as much as CDF, which is in the National Assembly, has come to help them, they would like that cascaded down into the Ward Development Fund. And I do not agree with MP Gakuya, who is saying that the Wanjiko will oppose this particular bill, considering that each and every ward will get 20 million in Nairobi and maybe in other counties. So this, in passing this bill, the Mwananchi is also cognizant of the fact, and we have said that Kenyans are not stupid. They know that this bill will come down. Just the same way the MPs pushed for CDF to be instilled in the Constitution, this is the same way we are saying that WTF should be instilled in the Constitution, so that we can have a synergy and an effective way of reaching the common Mwananchi. Remember, Nairobi has a large number of people, and I am sure maybe in Embakasi North, MP Gakuya knows that he also has a large constituents, and all these constituents cannot be properly funded by the CDF, and that is why we are saying stuff like WTF should come down and should be cascaded down to the people. Mwananchi will understand. They know that this has to be brought down, and so they will vote for this BBI.
We speak about more counties, more money to counties and devolved functions. Accountability has always been an issue, especially with the onslaught of the fruits of devolution, as we commonly refer to them. More money to mashinani, more money to counties. Role of oversight amongst members of county assemblies. We've seen the debacle between the heads of the counties and MCAs trying to play their role. What say you? Still with you, Lucy, before we cross over to the other MCA from Kirinyaga County. What say you, June Juliet?
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
Talk to us about the accountability aspect, because we're touting more money to the counties, Ward Development Fund definitely receiving more money. What would you tell Kenyans who might have the question about the role of oversight, especially within the county assemblies, and accountability in devolved funds?
We have organs that that definitely look into the accountability and of devolved functions. But in the county assembly, we also do our own oversight. And as this BBI is coming, it doesn't mean that because there's more money into the ward development funds that there will not be oversight. The oversight has properly been done. You can see if there are places where we have raised questions in either corruption issues, those have also been sorted out, and they are continuing to be sorted out either by EACC or even the DCI themselves if people are found culpable. But that cannot be the question that we cannot take money down to the people just because of the accountability and oversight issue. I'm sure MCAs, through the procedures that have been laid down in the county assemblies, have ways of oversighting these funds, have ways of synergizing and saying that in this particular ward, you go and do your public participation and you give Wanjiko what exactly they need at that particular point. Unlike where CDF does not, I do not know whether CDF has, whether they do public participation or they just do capital projects. But for oversight, we have done our oversight role to the best of our ability, and it will continue to happen in the county assemblies.
Let's cross over to Lucy Njeri. Kirinyaga County is among the counties in the vast Mount Kenya region, and a lot of talk has been rife on the volatile ground. And perhaps you could allude to this statement or distance yourself from it. How exactly would be the reception in Kirinyaga County as you anticipate the passing of this Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020?
First, I want to denounce the Member of Parliament from Nairobi County who said that the members of county assembly did only calls those who are out or who are in line with them. I want to say, like me, when I go to the women groups, I don't know anybody. When I go to sell this BBI, I don't know anybody. So saying that the public participation was only done to the people who are in the likes of us and in the likes of the BBI is a very awkward way of thinking about how we do public participation. Number two, I also want to denounce the fact that the Member of Parliament saying that the people of Kenya are no longer stupid. People of Kenya have never been stupid. It is the way the information we give to the people of Kenya and the perception we give. They are the likes of the leaders or the politicians who want to be seen as if they are the ones who are on the right side, as if they are the ones who want to, who have the mercy for the Wanjiko. Wanjiko needs to be given the right information. Wanjiko needs to be told what exactly in the BBI, what is going to benefit them in the BBI, but not the likes of what they want to hear. The politician wants to be liked by the Wanjiko. No, it doesn't go like that. Back to Kirinyaga County on the issues of the volatility of the people reaction to the BBI. First, I want to say that people, after doing a bit of the civic education, people are coming to understand what exactly is in the BBI. Before, the people were understanding BBI is the creation of some position for the people. This BBI is not about the political position. It's not about Raila. It's not about Ruto. It's not about even Uhuru Kenyatta. There is nowhere those leaders have been mentioned in the BBI. So we are continuing having a proper conversation, a sober conversation. And I want to tell the people of Kenyans, we have different leaders. Those leaders who have their self-interest, those leaders who are tubocrats, and those leaders who are ready to become the servant leadership of the people of Kenya. And those people who want to become the servant of people of this Kenya are the people who are ready to tell the people the truth. This BBI, and in fact, it's not the first time we amended the Constitution. Constitution are progressively amended to customize to the needs of the people. The needs which were there before 2010, they are not the needs that are there today. Remember, not everything that is perfect. So a constitution is not also a perfect document. It requires some amendments progressively. And that is why we have seen the gaps. The gaps are there, including the divisive elections, including more allocation so that we can have to strengthen our devolution. We have gaps in the constitution, and these are some of the gaps that we need to rectify.
Speaking of gaps,
in fact, we will still continue amending.
Speaking of gaps, Jerry,
I'd
beg to ask the question about civic education. Would you say the role by various leaders in terms of educating the masses in terms of this constitutional amendment bill 2020 has been shortcoming? Would you say that?
What I'm saying is that we need to give civic education day by day. We need to let the people of Kirinyaga and the people of Kenya understand exactly what is in the constitution, but not the shallow things that they have always been hearing about representation. In fact, the problem is coming in the BBI. It's about representation. And I don't think there is a problem with everybody feeling included in the areas of governance and mostly in the top decision making, so that we cannot be hearing that there is, people sometimes fight only because of resources, allocation of resources and distribution of resources, matters equity. But now when we talk about representation and we tell the people the wrong information about representation, is where we are coming wrong. And that's why we are saying it is either yes, it is either no. The people should come clearly and support
Jerry.
the BBI. Yes.
Well, that's really proper, and I think I'll bounce on that point. Josh Mangi. I'll give you the right of reply.
Yes.
I'll give you the right of reply, but something that has been noted, either yes or no. Josh Mangi, I mean, why not just draw the line and say, no, we do not support this? Because as per the previous referendums, there's always two sides to this, those who accept and those who reject. You've said it has fruits.
I will tell you something, because we are being realistic.
Okay.
You know, it is Easter, yes or no. But then let us look at the reality. In most referendums in the world, in the American system, when we have referenda, there are 3 or 4 questions. Each item is separated. I know there are those who will say that the British referenda that took place was the Brexit.
Yes.
That was a question addition: do we move out or we remain? Now, in 2010, that was a constitutional overhaul. It was a question of, do we accept the new constitution or we reject the new constitution? That was one question. But in this one, the constitution is still intact. We want to amend a few items. So what we're saying is, like me, I speak for myself. There are 2 things I like about this, and I like them. Now, what we're going to see is a situation whereby we're going to throw away the baby with the bathwater, because you're going to ask yourself, yes, I like this 35% revenue, but there are so many package that is coming with this BBI bill that I would rather reject all of it than accept only part of it. So we are throwing away the baby together with the bathwater. But let me say something. I don't want to be seen to be defending Mheshimiwa Gakuya, but I don't know what really tickled off the MCA from Kirinyaga, because she has really gone, because what Gakuya said is that there is a question mark on the way we do civic education. If anybody lies to herself that the way we do civic education in Kenya is proper, and then she does not understand this. There's a bill already in the Senate on how to streamline civic education.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's what he said. Secondly, if anybody thinks that this PBI passage is going to be a walk in the back again, I mean, that is a misnomer. What Gakuya said, and I want to support him, is that this PBI thing has challenges on the ground. Now, let me ask you, Jesse. Have you seen the bill? Have you seen the bill yourself?
Yes.
Do you know how many people have seen the bill?
Well, that's the big question.
90% of the people have not seen the bill, and that's what Gakuya is saying, that when it will come, yes, the 24 threshold will be met.
Yeah.
But that's not the elephant in the house. The elephant in the house is the 47 million Kenyans out there who have not read the BBI bill, who have not been properly educated, who have questions to be answered. That's what we are saying. So when the MCA goes off the tangent and says Gakuya is what. I think that's not fair.
Okay, well, in their defense, they're going to print 10 million copies. That's at least according to the PS Karanja Kibisho, who mentioned, I don't know about the timelines. I'll give Gakuya a chance to defend himself, even as we conclude on your remarks, Gakuya. Tell us.
Yeah, thank you, Rogers. Just want to respond very quickly because the Deputy Governor has assisted my response from my side because actually the attack was too bold. And what I would like to say is that we have what we call democratic rights. You have what we call democratic right to choose. And that's what we call democracy. Democracy is not to tell us that we must move to that direction, all of us. You have to listen to my opinion because my opinion does not mean that it is totally divergent, but persuade me, win to win your way. But we cannot move in a manner that we can force things to happen. Okay. It's not possible. And that's what I'm saying. We need to look for mechanism how to and persuade Wajiko to get into this picture and understand, yes, it is not a baggage to increase taxes onto her. Because the big monster in the house is where a stage we are. Kenyans are heavily taxed. And we have seen the fuel have started shooting up. Okay. And we are expecting that many other commodities, and especially basic commodities, will rise up. And the life will be totally different. So we need answers. How are you prepared to implement this? What are the areas of harnessing what we call revenue? Because you can't tell us it is not budgets which will do this. Because currently, we are saying we are in 15% disbursement to counties, and we are also seeing challenges sometimes. Okay. So we are asking, yes, we are at that 5. Okay, it's a good deal. But where are we prepared to get all this?
Well, that's a proper question. Before we cross over to Kirinyaga, let me bring in June Juliet Ndegwa, who's still in our city center studios. Even as you push for civic education, enlightening the masses on the fruits of the BBI, I mean, one question that you might come across over and over again, and they have alluded to it, the cost of living, the question of economic resuscitation vis-a-vis focusing on pushing for constitutional reforms. How would you tackle this?
First and foremost, let me just make something clear, and I wanted to, I don't know if it is the Deputy Governor Mangi who said that the BBI cannot be accepted, but if you think about the procedure of this bill, it was endorsed by 4.4 million signatures, and that is just the very first step. Step number 2 was to take the BBI to the counties. And after that, after we get the threshold of the 24 counties, then civic education will come in full throttle. Despite having done public participation, we are very cognizant of the fact that the civic education needs to be done properly, and Wanjiko needs to be explained to, and in places like Kisii, why they will benefit from getting 7.9 billion shillings to 15 billion shillings allocation. I'm sure the 45 counties in Kisii will also accept that 20 million for their World Development Fund is something that they will be, that will go a long way in the building of Kisii County itself. Cost of living has gone high, yes, but we cannot say that we are not going to do BBI because of cost of living. I mean, government is a body that can be able to do multiple things at the same time. And even as we look at the cost of living of Kenyans, and especially in these COVID times, then we cannot say that we cannot do BBI and amend the 14 chapters of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 just because our cost of living is high. Other issues should be tackled, yes, to check the cost of living, but we can still do that concurrently with the BBI.
Well, it's all a question of priority at times. Okay, no problem. Briefly.
You know, sometimes when we come to national TV, we should speak the truth. Let's not lie to the public. Number one, Madam MCA that says that we are 4.4 million signatures. No. What is the body? charged with the IBC, yes, confirmed 1.3 million signatures, not 4.4. That's not right. Number two, she says about KCMCAs getting 20 million per ward when BBI passes. That is not correct. The correct position is that the 5% is 5% of corrected revenue. There is no way KC will correct revenue that will be divided to every ward to get 20 million. 20 million. These are the wrong messages that we keep on passing for the sake of passing BBI. And when you bring us to a debate like this, please don't give us people who give wrong information.
All right. I think facts are definitely quite important. And I'd like to speak to Lucy Njeri on this particular matter. Political rallies are set to start on March 1st to actually drum up support for the constitutional reforms. As you give us your final take, kindly inform us about the journey, specifically in Kirinyaga County, as you allude to some of the pointers that were given by our fellow contributors.
Okay, first, before I handle that matter, I want to go back to the issue of the economic crisis that we are having. Or what I want to say, it's the economic crisis is not only affecting us nationally, even at the county levels. Remember, there was a pandemic, but I tend to think that the government have enough professionals, has enough experts, has employed enough experts to be able to handle the situation. But we cannot keep on complaining. I want to urge the likes of the Deputy Governor from Kisii. I want to urge the likes of the MP from Nairobi to come into support of the government and give those good solutions, give those ideologies, give those good measures that we can be able to bring back our economy into the right position. For example, that's why we need the money, that 5% money which is coming to the county levels.
All right.
The increase of that will afford the county government to maybe come up with a stimulus or maybe a program that will be able to see our economy coming back again. But we can't keep on complaining and putting a blame to the government, to the government. We also need at our own levels, at my own capacity as an MCA, to give advice, to give maybe an idea to the governor or maybe to the relevant bodies on how we can be able to revive this economy back. It's not only about the government. And BBI is addressing such issues on bringing some more additional funds to the county level. Okay, number two, on the issues of rallies from March, there is need to give the civic education. There is need to tell the people the right thing. There is need to tell people the benefits of BBI, and by doing so, we will have been able to the people will understand exactly what is in the BBI. Yes.
Okay, well, many thanks. Definitely picking the mind of Lucy Njeri right there, who's a nominated member of County Assembly from Kirinyaga. Allow me to collect the final remarks right here from Josh Mangi and James Gakuya in studio, as well as June Juliet Ndegwa, who's joining us from our City Center studios. Well, the challenge is in terms of passing the referendum, even as we await 24 counties as the minimum requisite in order for it to go to Parliament. I'll start with you, Gakuya. What say you about the anticipation of the journey ahead? You've definitely given the challenge that it might be centered on the referendum itself, but key issues still arise around this. What say you about it?
In fact, we must not forget that at the point we are, we have a judicial restriction order which bars the Electoral Commission to make any proceed of this BBI, even after going all the stages from the counties, the Senate, and the National Assembly.
Yeah,
so at that particular point, we have to make a break and give our judiciary a space to give a verdict at the end of the day. That's one point. Number two, this particular bill, we will see the right of the day, because once it's given a clear indicator passed by the 24 number of counties, automatically it gets a nod that's the first handle. Yeah. And it will see its light to the Senate and the National Assembly. And I'm sure at that stage, I am sure that majority will be persuaded to pass it. And from there, the president has a final say. And what is required to go to the referendum will be taken as a question. But I want to tell Kenyans that, in fact, before that, there is a lot of bills that are projected by the same bill that does not require what we call a referendum, and they will be formulated and acted on at the parliamentary level, at the National Assembly level, at the two levels of Senate and Parliament and National Assembly.
Exactly, and we anticipate a fresh, sober debate right there, even as we come to terms that the referendum might come likely before June. Josh Mangi, your closing remarks on this.
You know, Chelsea, first and foremost, I am not sure if the MCA from Kinyaga understands what she's talking about. Because, but I will leave it for that. Let me say this. Constitutions are made for the future. Laws are made for the future. And when we go through this current BBI bill, let us not look at it in terms of what we benefit only today. We're making it for posterity to make sure that Kenya becomes a better country. We will interrogate this bill. Kenyans will go through each and every item in this bill and make a decision to pass it or not to pass it. And again, that is why I'm still of the opinion that the right thing should have been giving a person a chance to decide which of the 6 items he prefers and which one he doesn't prefer. But we're making this constitution for tomorrow, not for today only.
All right. Briefly, 30 seconds to Juliet Ndegwa. Just give us your closing remarks, even as I add to the point that Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua mentioned. MPs will only need about 3 weeks to debate this particular bill. What say you?
First of all, just very quickly, I'd like to have a right to rebuttal. I said that the bill was endorsed by 4.4 million signatures. I think Deputy Governor Mangi should follow national news, because yesterday it was on the news where IBC had cleared 3.3 million, which is a progressive process after they cleared the 1.2 million. MPs need 3 weeks. I think maybe they can be able to fast-track it. But if that is what is stipulated in their standing orders, and if they need to a bit of more time to endorse it, of course, but not endorse it, debate it in Parliament, they need to consider the time limits that we have and look at the document critically and clearly before they pass it in the National Assembly. But so far so good, I can say the BBI process is getting momentum, and it's gaining momentum even with the Wanjiku on the ground.
Well, we'll definitely see how that process goes. Many thanks, ladies and gentlemen. June Juliet Ndegwa, who's the national chair of the Kenya Young Members of County Assemblies. James Gachagua also joining us since 6 a.m. Thank you so much. Embakasi North Member of Parliament. Josh Mangi, Deputy Governor, Kisii County. Thank you for your input right here, as well as Lucy Njeri, who's a nominated Member of County Assembly in Kirinyaga County. Well, let's shift focus right now. Before we take a short break, just a hint what's coming on the other side. I had the opportunity to have a sit down with the provost of the Anglican Church of Kenya, specifically All Saints Cathedral. He hit the headlines with his sermon criticizing various issues that are highlighted in the press on day-to-day, touching on governance and corruption. Just listen to a hint from this sermon by Provost Sami Wanaina as we anticipate that particular conversation later on Persons of Interest after this short break. To stay with Morning.
Churches have opened their podiums to politicians to attack their opponents. Reggae must stop in churches. And I want to tell politicians, in this cathedral, this podium will never be used by you. Let me tell Christian leaders, close your churches to politicians. You are going to destroy this country.